welcome. What is up? Welcome to This Week in the Mixer. I think we're episode 5. Anyway, doesn't really matter what week it is. We're going to go post Memorial Day prop slash third of the way through baseball season edition. Going to talk a little sports, a little bit of everything, a little Padres, maybe a little NBA Finals, and a little football, and we'll just see how it goes. Again, unscripted, on my way home. It's Friday, probably about to hit the border traffic, because Fridays are never fun crossing into Mexico. But hey, I got some cervezas waiting for me at home with my name on it. So, before we get into sports, though, I did want to touch briefly, kind of wrap up our Game of Thrones talks we've been having here that nobody's been paying attention to. But at least I can get some of my thoughts out for my own self. At least I watched the final rewatch. It's the 2-hour kind of making of documentary on the last season of Game of Thrones, and it kind of gave some more evidence for how some people are feeling about the way the show wrapped up. If you haven't seen it, they follow a few of the crew members, people involved with the production of the show, their perspective of the last season with their jobs. They follow like a makeup, the husband and wife who were in charge of doing the makeup for a lot of the characters, them and their team. And then they follow around a guy who's in charge of basically dressing the sets with snow. That's all I think his job is literally just putting the fake snow all over the ground and organizing that. And then they got another perspective from one of the extras, Soldier, who's very enthusiastic about his job. And with the exception of the Soldier, who's I don't know, who's just getting to taste of life as an actor. The other two perspectives, you kind of tell, like, obviously they love their job, but they're so worn down after so many seasons. Like, especially the couple who run the makeup team, they are away. They have a young daughter who was even younger when they first got the contract to work on Game of Thrones, and they're away from their daughter for like 20 some odd weeks of the year, just completely away, and they're working like 12, 15 hour days. Sometimes it's gotta grind you down, and I think that really came out with the way the show was put together. This last season, they hit some, the big marks and the big spectacle that they wanted, but the little details that everybody loved the show for so many years because of, we're kind of lacking, and everything felt like clunky. Couldn't really figure out the characters' reasoning behind their decisions, because they were so focused on having as many scenes with Dragonfire as possible. So they just, I don't know, they just missed their mark in that respect. The further removed we get from the show, the more sad I am about the way it ended. But at the same time, the more I kind of understand it ended the way it did. It's just kind of unfortunate. Maybe somebody down the line will come and maybe remake the last couple seasons. Maybe they'll pick up from where Cersei blows up the Great Sept, and bring the show to its conclusion, and over, you know, either a longer period of time or just in a way that's a little more satisfying. So yeah, those are just kind of my final shots on this show, or thoughts on the show. I wish they would have just taken the bigger budget that they were given and drawn the show out a little bit more. But fortunately, you know, HBO still putting really good content out there. There's no shortage of entertainment, you know. I wonder what the next big thing like this will be. I remember after finishing Lord of the Rings, I was thinking, like, there'll never be another movie, another experience like this. And then, you know, we get the Marvel series, Game of Thrones came along, you know, Star Wars rebooted. So there's always gonna be awesome stories, stories better than brands, and so there'll still be, you know, things to look forward to in the entertainment world. I finished Chernobyl, which is fucking amazing. It's, you know, it's really harrowing what those people had to go through. You know, it's a dramatization of actual events. Most of it is almost, you know, from all accounts, I guess it's like a closed society that they were trying to get the information from what actually happened after the disaster. So the writer, I guess, is on record saying that, you know, there were a lot of accounts and some of them contradicted each other, and what he ended up doing was, if there was two accounts of a certain way something went down, he would opt for the less sensationalized option in the hopes of, you know, preserving realism, thinking that the more exaggerated version is more likely to be untrue. But even then, man, there's some crazy stuff that those guys had to go through, and you know, there's a lot of people that really put their lives on the line to keep it from becoming a even worse disaster than what it was. I mean, I had no idea that we're that at risk for the whole continent to you know, be uninhabitable. But if they didn't do some of the things that they did, they would have been, you know, they would have been poisoning half of Asia and displacing like hundreds of millions of people, which is crazy to imagine. So yeah, if you haven't given it a shot, watch it. It's really good. You know, it's almost like it's like watching a war movie. There's a little bit of like a trial element to it, like a court trial, which is always entertaining, and like a natural disaster element that's all like mixed together, you know, with kind of this almost like a horror. It's almost like they're telling a horror story. It's really good. Can't recommend it enough. So yeah, and also, you know, got through Barry, really good. But yeah, we can talk about. We can get into the meat of sports, you know, and then also I guess one more thing before we move on to some sports talk is the season 3 trailer of Westworld looks freaking crazy. You know, you get to see what the world is like outside of the Westworld theme park, and you got Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad as the lead, it looks like, for season 3, which is awesome. Love that guy. You know, Breaking Bad, Need for Speed. You know, it's fuck yeah, bitch. I'm excited. I'm excited for that. Season 2 kind of bombed for Westworld. Well, it didn't really bomb. It was just there were so many timelines. It was really hard to follow. And like I listen to podcasts on it, and even the podcasters, they don't really. They had a hard time following it. So, you know, I rewatched the episodes, and it was still kind of hard for me to follow, and it just the way it was presented wasn't very entertaining. But the plot was good, if that makes any sense. It was just really confusing. But yeah, season 3, the trailer, it looks crazy. So we'll see how it goes. All right, moving on. Sports. Let's talk Padres first. They are, you know, right on the forefront of our of what we follow right now. It's the only team we got in San Diego. Well, of the big like 4 sports, we got the Gulls, we got the Seals. I'm sure we got some other teams. Rest in peace, the San Diego Fleet. You burned bright for such a short time. We'll forever remember your 500 record. You know, we'll think about the times we had together. But yeah, we'll talk Padres. We got Tatis back. Hopefully he re-energizes the team a little bit. So they'll be playing slightly above 500 ball. I know they were about to be at 500. Hand up. I believe they won yesterday against the Phillies, so I think they took 2 out of 3. I'm not sure, so they may be a game or 2 above 500. Don't quote me on that, but I see them kind of flirting around 500. Danny did mention that the Pods play a lot of wild card contenders coming up. I didn't get to fact check that. You know, fcwinemixer.wordpress.com, the stats team, myself. You know, we've been putting in long hours elsewhere, so stats department isn't on top of its game right now. We'll get there. It's you know, it's still early in the season. We got the second half to make it up. But anyway, we got Tatis back. Paddock has gotten dotted up, I believe, his last 3 starts. So I think what's happening there is these hitters are starting to get tapes on him. You know, maybe he has a tell. I don't know. I doubt that, but you know, the hitters don't seem to be surprised by his stuff as much. This happens a lot with young pitchers. They come in, they throw really good in their first couple starts, and then whether it's fatigue, whether it's you know, batting coaches, hitters who have been around the league for a while start to key in on what pitches he likes to throw in what situations, or they know which pitches they're more likely to be able to hit from this guy. You know, the results start to go in the other direction, so this is normal. Not too worried about him. He'll probably ride it in another, you know, in a few more starts. I expect him to be right back on track. So I'm not panicking on Paddock at all. I think the kid's got it. He just needs to, you know, adjust and go in and see what hitters are doing against him, so he knows how to get him out moving forward. It's always kind of a back and forth there. What else we got? We got Bumblebee Gate. Or at least that's what I'm gonna call it. I know they weren't bumblebees; they were like honeybees, but you know, it just sounds catchy. Bee-gate doesn't really flow as well. Honeygate, maybe, I don't know. Hivegate. Anyway, Um, but yeah, the Bees, rest in peace. Thoughts, T's and P's, Matt and Jess. Really, I don't know. 10 years ago, this wouldn't have been a thing. With the Bees getting exterminated, I'm sure people would have been pissed off, but not as outraged as everybody is. And it is rightfully so. I'm very into the natural world and how we're fucking destroying it. And I'm very sensitive to that sort of thing. That being said, I'm not like up in arms against the Padres. They made a mistake. I think they just didn't think it through all the way. They obviously didn't have a plan like this in place. They didn't know how to deal with it, and they just whoever called the shot was just trying to get them out of there. Whether it was them fearing somebody being stung, or if they were just trying to get the game in, which is hopefully not what their sole motivation was, but I don't think they made a brash decision just to without considering everything. I know there were people. Apparently, there was a beekeeper at the front gate asking to be let in so they can remove him. I doubt that information got to whoever was making the decision, or whoever was making the decision obviously didn't care, didn't consider the fallout. So I guess they're getting the appropriate backlash, keeping things in balance. But it's I don't know. It's not like I'm not going to go to games or anything. They made a mistake, and I don't know. Hopefully they do something to make it right. Whether it's a donation or what, they got to do something, and hopefully they don't get too public about it. Maybe they just mention it, but yeah, it's anyway. I think the buzz around the whole thing is a little extreme. All right. So what else we got? Kimbrel's going to the Cubs. He's on my fantasy team, so that little stash hopefully pays off, because I ain't getting shit for saves, which I don't think anybody is, because apparently bullpens don't run like they used to, and yeah, so I don't got much else to say about baseball, other than hopefully the Padres can go on a run here, maybe win this is, if they're going to be a wild card contender, they need to go on a run at some point, because they're going to lose. They're going to have bad stretches. It's still a young team, with not that great pitching. So they need to string together a series where maybe out of 20 games they win 15. Maybe they go on a nice 10-12 game winning streak. I guess that's probably a little much, but maybe they they win 8 in a row, and then they win 2 or 3 series after that. They need to go on a run like that if they're going to be a contender. So really, this middle of the season is where it's it's kind of make or break. It's this side of the All-Star break, and then maybe a few weeks after, where we'll know if they can be serious contenders. So I wouldn't tilt necessarily if they don't go on that run, or if they start losing games, but just kind of accept the inevitability. Okay, well, hopefully these guys can mature. The young guys like Tatis, Paddock, can get more experience and be ready for next season. So yeah, I think that kind of covers all my thoughts on baseball for now. Really, this NBA Finals has been pretty entertaining. Got the drama with all the Warriors getting injured. Klay Thompson is out. I know he missed the last game. I don't know what the status is, if he's gonna miss the next one or maybe the rest of the series. KD, same thing. I feel like they're gonna be back in there at some point. Or maybe they'll use it as an excuse if they just think Toronto's the better team. But yeah, really important. I guess Game 4 coming up. Raptors could go up 3-1 and come back home, right? Because they played, or was that just the first game at Golden State? I can never remember the series. I think it goes 2 in Toronto, 3 at Golden State, and then 2 back in Toronto. So Game 4 either way is really important, because if Golden State's staring down a 3-1 barrel of a 3-1 deficit, although that has worked out in the past for other teams, I think Toronto will just be energized by the possibility of winning their first title, and they'll close the deal, and the board man will get paid. And then we had a little bit of controversy with one of the minority owners of Golden State pushing Toronto Raptor. I'm not exactly sure who the guy was that he pushed. Sorry, I don't watch that much NBA. But I mean, there's just a little shove, and they're talking about him being forced to sell his shares of the team, being banned for a year from the arena, which is appropriate. A lot of it, I don't know how the NBA forces owners to sell their shares. I know ownership works differently for different leagues, but Jesus Christ, like, you have they had the Clippers owner sell the team a few years ago for releasing that voicemail. Well, he didn't release it, but his estranged wife, angry girlfriend did. He said some racist comments, and then he's forced to sell the Clippers for whatever $2 billion plus to, was it AG? I can't remember who bought him. But yeah, and then that had the butterfly effect of the Chargers leaving San Diego probably. So thanks a lot, NBA. But yeah, you get these guys being forced to sell the team, and then meanwhile in the NFL, you have Robert Kraft, who they have on tape, whether they're authorizing it to be released or not. They have him, being jacked off by a freaking sex slave, and having some shady ties to possibly organized sex laborers, and it's just being swept under the rug, basically. Okay, I mean, I get it doesn't surprise me. That's the way the world works, I suppose. The case of the NBA guys, it was out in the open for the public to see. That wife of the former Clippers owner, she released that tape for everybody to hear, and then this other Golden State Warrior minority owner, he shoved that player during a game. But still, man, it just doesn't. Spoiler alert: the world's not fair, and not everything's justified. But isn't the media supposed to be the watchdog on this sort of thing? Aren't they the ones who are supposed to call this shit out. You know, it's not fair that Robert Kraft is, you know, it's just getting laughed off. Ha ha ha, he got a handy. It's like, all right. And I mean, even then, like, I don't know, I don't think it's that big of a deal as far as the act itself, but like being involved in a company or a place where like these women are being taken advantage of and being promised a better life from whatever country they're being immigrated from, and they're basically being like, you know, they are basically slaves, kind of forced into doing that work. It's a sticky situation. So that kind of wraps up my thoughts on basketball. Hopefully the Raptors bring it home, and you know, San Diego will have another individual they can celebrate with getting a title, even though Kawhi already has one. I know he has one at least. NBA Finals MVP as well. It'd be nice if we get another one of those. But yeah, looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Not so interested in the hockey finals. I think the Bruins are going to win, even though St. Louis, I think, has won the last two. Maybe it's just gone back and forth 1-1. I know St. Louis won the last game, but I don't know. Come on, man. The Blues aren't going to win. We've all seen this before. The Boston team wins. That's just how these things work. But yeah, I did want to talk about the prop results. You know, nobody turned in a sheet, so thanks for playing, guys. You know, I didn't spend hours putting that thing together or anything. It's all right. It's okay. Jeff did submit that he thought Lewis Hamilton would win the Monaco Grand Prix, and he did. So with that, and the 7 points that came along with that selection, Jeff finishes second. Nobody ran. Nobody else turned in the sheet. So everybody else is tied with, I guess, in last place with 0 points. You know, you don't get credit for finishing third if you don't turn it in. You get a donut. So enjoy that. Have fun digging out of that hole. I'm gonna say that I'm leading the prop standings, the postseason prop standings. So you know, wherever Sean's picking. Come on, man. Okay, dude. Anyway, guy was coming out. So wherever Sean's picking, I will be picking. You know, who knows? Maybe I'll go the other end of the stake. I think it's pretty deep first round. There's a lot of different strategies you can go with. I also don't think there's a clear number one. You know, the name I keep hearing is Christian McCaffrey is probably going to be the consensus number one. You know, with us being a full PPR, yeah, okay. Maybe he is the clear number one, but is he the best player in the NFL or best running back in the NFL? I don't think so. So I think there's a lot of different ways to go. Maybe going towards the end of the snake will be the better option. Maybe that's the way Sean goes. We'll see. But yeah, I think that wraps it up for now. I'm home. It's Friday. I'm gonna go get that cerveza, and I'll catch you guys next time. Let's get it. Later.